You're listening to a story on Usebrain Audio, where your intelligence is always respected. Enjoy the story. Synopsis. I was taken back after being lost for 18 years. When the fake heiress carefully cleaned the room for me, my cousin swiftly moved her luggage in first, as if she was used to taking whatever was best. She said in a light tone, "You've just come back, not used to the place yet. Stay in my room for now." I smiled calmly. So this whole time, the fake heiress had actually been the one bullied most miserably, while the so-called cousin was a poisonous snake. Now that I'm back, I'll protect the fake heiress and restore order to this household. Since childhood, I've always had a strange sense of leadership, as if I was born knowing how to make others obey. By 5, I was already the commander of the entire house. My parents and 2 older brothers could only smile helplessly every time I gave orders. The youngest child was always right, they'd say. In elementary school, I once brought 2 cleavers to class just because some boys bullied my oldest brother. From that day on, everyone within 10 miles knew my name. Everyone in the Trin family was gentle except for the youngest daughter, who acted like a little demon. Some even joked I couldn't possibly be their biological child. One day someone said I looked so fierce it gave them chills. At that moment, I was hanging from an old tree branch, a straw in my mouth, smirking lazily. Nonsense, I thought. Mom Trin always said I was adorable. But fate has its timing, and strangely, that year, their words came true. It turned out I wasn't the Trin family's biological child at all. I'd been switched at birth. At 19, in the middle of a blazing summer, the truth came out. My real parents were from the Tan family in City S. Coincidentally, I was already attending college there. The Tan family kept calling, politely inviting me home. Their tone was warm but cautious. At first, I didn't care, but curiosity won. I decided to visit to see what kind of family they truly were. I heard they were wealthy, living in a luxurious villa, owning their own company. When I arrived, the black iron gates opened automatically, reflecting the dazzling sunlight. The stone-paved path was spotless. The trimmed pine trees lined up perfectly. Even the pebbles looked polished. It happened to be Madame Tan's birthday that day. The house was as crowded as a shareholders' meeting, adults chatting, children laughing, every corner filled with noise and brightness. Among the younger guests, my eyes caught a girl dressed extravagantly. Her gown glittered, accessories sparkled, curls styled as if for a red carpet event. She looked one LED strip short of becoming a human Christmas tree. If I remembered right, she was Uncle Tan's daughter, Nina Tan, not even the main character of today's party, yet she dressed as if it were her own ball. Something about her told me she wasn't simple. And sure enough, before lunch even began, Nina started showing off her brilliance. Meanwhile, the fake heiress Annie Tan timidly brought out some steaming dishes. She whispered, "I've already cleaned your room, sister. You can move in any time." She pointed toward the largest bedroom upstairs. Surprisingly, she seemed more considerate than expected. My gaze drifted over the kitchen, filled with plates of still steaming food, and landed on her small hands covered with burn marks. "So many dishes. You cooked all this alone?" I asked. "Didn't anyone think to hire a helper?" She forced a smile. "Dad and Mom said it's cleaner if we cook ourselves. Also, it shows sincerity to our relatives," she added softly. I frowned slightly. Sincerity? A 30-dish banquet, all cooked by one girl from morning till noon. If that's sincerity, why didn't they all join her in the kitchen? I looked at the timid girl before me, the one who'd lived in my place for over a decade. Her hair was tied low, her figure frail and small, her gentle face almost identical to Mother Trin's. Truly, she looked every bit like the real daughter of the Trin family. She didn't seem to understand what I was thinking and shyly asked, "Chloe, should I show you to your room?" I nodded, smiling as I followed her upstairs. But when the door opened, I froze. Inside was a mountain of luggage piled half a meter high. "It's not mine," Annie stammered. I cleaned the room already." I stayed silent for a moment, my gaze calm yet sharp. "You gave me this room, didn't you?" I said evenly. "Then I have the right to decide what stays here." Annie blinked, then nodded quickly. "Yes, of course." So I walked in casually, lifted the pillows and blankets from the bed, and tossed them out the window into the garden. Then I grabbed the laptop on the desk, snapped its hinge, and threw it after them as lightly as if tossing out trash. When I turned back, my smile only deepened. "Don't worry," I said quietly. "I know those things weren't yours. They belonged to your cousin. Nina Tan, that peacock downstairs, right?" I'd seen her sneaking her luggage upstairs the moment I arrived, thinking possession meant ownership. How amusing. After being pampered too long by the Tan family, she must have believed everyone would always yield to her. Annie stood nearby, eyes wide with awe as I cleared the room. I dusted off my hands and smiled. "If you really want to thank me," I said, "help unpack my things. Just a small backpack, mostly personal stuff. The only valuable item is my essential oil diffuser. I can't sleep without it." Seeing her actually move to help, I chuckled and patted her shoulder. "I'm kidding. Don't take it so seriously. What, did you think I was treating you like a maid?" I gently nudged her out of the room. She hesitated, then went straight back to the kitchen. That hard-working nature of hers was clearly etched into her bones. I frowned slightly. Sincerity, huh? A table full of 30 dishes, all cooked by one girl from morning till noon? If they truly wanted to show sincerity, why not cook together? I looked at the girl in front of me, the one who had lived my life for over 10 years. Her small hands were covered in burn scars, her eyes lowered in quiet submission. "You've lived in my place long enough," I said softly. "From now on, I'll be the one protecting you." Her eyes widened slightly, unsure what I meant, but before she could reply, the sound of laughter echoed from downstairs. As I expected, it was Nina Tan, the peacock of the family, surrounded by relatives. I descended the stairs calmly, taking in the bustling living room. Everywhere I looked, there were smiles, gossip, and people pretending to be refined. The Tan family prided themselves on elegance, but underneath it was nothing but shallow vanity. "Ah, Chloe's here," someone said with forced enthusiasm. "Come join us." I nodded politely, taking my seat beside Annie. Aunt Susan, Nina's mother, was in the middle of a boast disguised as humility. "Everyone praises my daughter too much," she said with a smile. "If she's really that good, Peking University would have claimed her already." The entire table burst into laughter. My eyebrows arched slightly. "So today's also the college admission announcement day, huh?" "Of course. A double celebration, Madame Tan's birthday, and a family gathering to flaunt her niece's achievements." Compliments poured in instantly. "Nina must have made it to Peking University for sure. Such a bright girl." Nina smiled gracefully, feigning modesty. "I was just lucky. My uncle and aunt taught me well, that's all." Her words were smooth but sharp beneath the silk. She managed to flatter my biological parents while subtly putting down Annie, who had been raised in the same house but treated like a servant. Annie sat silently at the corner, clutching the edge of her dress, her fingers pale from tension. I watched quietly, an unease stirring in my chest. Did my so-called parents really allow their niece to humiliate their own daughter so openly? Apparently so. My father, Mr. Tan, nodded approvingly. "Nina truly has great potential. Beautiful and talented, not like Annie, who never finishes what she starts." Madame Tan added with a proud smile, "It's not Annie's fault. She just doesn't have the brains for studying. We tried to help, but there's only so much one can do." I raised my glass, letting the chill of the water cool my temper. So this is what family means in the Tan household, affection cheapened by pride. Aunt Susan saw her chance and leaned forward, voice syrupy. "Sister-in-law, I must thank you. All these years, Nina has lived with you, cared for by your family. It's no wonder she turned out so well. I feel so guilty as her real mother." The relatives immediately chimed in like a rehearsed choir. "That's true. Look at Nina, her clothes are all designer brands. Brother Tan is such a generous man, raising his niece like his own daughter. And sister-in-law, you're a model teacher of the district. How rare to see someone so kind." Each word soaked in false flattery, feeding my parents' vanity until their smiles stretched wide with pride. I set my glass down slowly, exhaling silently. I'd guessed right, they were people who lived for appearances. As long as it made them look good, they didn't mind sacrificing their own child. They wanted prestige through Nina, validation through charity, and the illusion of virtue in the eyes of others. And Nina knew it perfectly well. That's why she dared to move her luggage into my room. She knew they would never scold her. True to form, Madame Tan soon spoke, half chiding, half bragging. I treat Nina so well because she deserves it. Unlike Annie, she can't do anything right. Clothes look much better on Nina anyway. Even if she's just our niece, she shouldn't feel deprived. The smug curve of Nina's lips deepened. Tiring of mocking Annie, she turned her sights on me. "Chloe, you're so pretty," she said sweetly. "As the real daughter of the Tan family, you must share your closet with me sometime. I'm sure some of your outfits would fit perfectly." I smiled faintly. So now she's trying to mark her territory with me too? "Do you think I'd wear your old clothes?" I asked softly, voice steady. "What makes you think you're worthy of that comparison?" The room went silent. Nina froze for a second, then forced a laugh. "Chloe, you misunderstand. Annie used to wear my old clothes when they didn't fit anymore. I just thought since you're thinner, maybe—" I set my chopsticks down gently. "Whether I've come back or not has nothing to do with your hand-me-downs," I said. "You were implying Annie wasn't even good enough for them, weren't you?" Her smile faltered. "Annie wears simple clothes because she's considerate," I continued. "But you? You dress like money's your armor. Ever worry people might think the Tan family's wasteful?" The relatives stiffened. My parents' expressions flickered with panic. "Or maybe," I added lightly, "you're trying to prove my parents' generosity by flaunting their gifts while pretending it's your own grace." Nina's face drained of color. My parents looked stricken, caught between anger and shame. I chuckled softly. "She acts so spoiled only because you two allowed it." Silence. Then Nina's voice quivered, trembling with fake remorse. "Chloe, please don't misunderstand. You're the real daughter of uncle and aunt. I'm just the outsider. I'd never—" She lowered her gaze, her tone sugary sweet, playing the victim like a perfect little green tea princess. Unfortunately for her, I'd seen too many of her kind. I clasped my hands together calmly. "Am I misunderstanding, or are you subtly setting house rules for me? Everyone in this family uses your leftovers, am I supposed to, too?" The words struck like a whip. Nina shot up, her face stiff. "Chloe, you've gone too far." I tilted my head, eyes cold but smiling. "I'm just clarifying things," I said. "Because if I don't follow your rules, that makes me the rude one, doesn't it?" My parents' social smiles never wavered, but I saw the change in their eyes, that faint, familiar disgust for anyone who refused to obey. Control was in their blood. I must have inherited it. I smiled faintly. "Cousin, no need to get so worked up. Have some tea, maybe it'll calm you down. After all, it's rude to raise your voice at the dinner table, especially on a senior's birthday." Nina's lips parted, but no words came. If she argued, she'd be called disrespectful. If she stayed silent, she'd be admitting defeat. Finally, Mr. Tan spoke, his voice heavy. "Nina, that's enough. Chloe just got back. Let's not make a scene." His words fell like a verdict. Nina froze, her smile turning brittle. The entire table fell silent. Even Annie stared at me in awe, part admiration, part disbelief. For the first time, Nina was publicly reprimanded, not by me, but by her own uncle. Aunt Susan quickly tried to recover, her tone dripping with fake humility. "Brother, you've misunderstood. Nina didn't mean any harm. She's always acted like the big sister, just a bit bossy sometimes. She just finished her exams and is preparing for university. Maybe she got a little excited seeing Chloe back home." Her words twisted black into white so smoothly that even I had to admire her skill. No wonder my parents adored her daughter more than their own. The relatives, ever eager to side with whoever held power, immediately chimed in. "Oh, come now, she's still young. Nina's such a good girl, just too straightforward sometimes. She's entering Peking University, after all. Let's be more understanding." One uncle leaned forward with a smirk. "So, Nina, what score did you get this year?" Nina flicked her hair and smiled, perfectly poised. "My mock exams were all above 600, she said. A few people gasped. "That's amazing. I heard this year's test was extra hard. You might even hit 650 or 700. Their excitement fed her pride. She glanced at me with a sweet smile, her tone sugar-coated. "Chloe, didn't you and Annie take the college exam this year too?" She laughed softly. Ah, maybe that's not something we should compare. Her words dripped with the kind of casual cruelty only the privileged could master. Across the table, Annie lowered her head, mumbling, I still have a few dishes unfinished. I'll go check. No one stopped her. No one cared. The laughter continued as if nothing happened. Nina turned her gaze back to me, eyes gleaming with challenge. And what about you, Chloe? She asked sweetly. What score are you expecting? Aunt Susan leaned in, voice full of fake warmth. Don't be shy, dear. Even if it's low, no one will laugh. You've been away for so long, after all. The cousin snickered. Yeah, it's already great that she even went to school in the countryside. Right, at least she didn't marry early. Their laughter grated against the porcelain silence that followed. I took a sip of water, then said lightly, 726. The room went dead silent. You could hear the clock ticking. Every eye in the room turned toward me. Nina blinked, then gave a brittle laugh. Oh my, excuse me, I just choked, she said, covering her mouth. Then, feigning innocence, she added, 726? That's a full ride to Peking University. You're quite the dreamer. Madame Tan, ever the pretentious teacher, immediately joined in with her condescending tone. In the countryside, teachers don't really explain the admission cutoffs, do they? She said gently. It's normal for students to overestimate a bit. Chloe probably just got carried away. I smiled faintly. Some people talk a lot because they're confident. Others talk a lot because they're afraid. I was never one who needed to repeat myself. Aunt Susan relaxed, patting my shoulder as though I were a naive child. It's good to dream big, dear. Youth should be ambitious someday. You'll learn humility from Nina. Then, sensing the tension, she hurriedly changed the topic. If you really want to attend Peking University, maybe you could ask Leonard Foe, the neighbor's son. He's a student there. Madame Ten's eyes lit up. Oh yes, Mr. Foe mentioned yesterday that Leonard just returned home. Such a talented boy. I narrowed my eyes. Leonard Foe? The name sounded familiar. Ah yes, the esports prodigy, the golden boy of Peking University, and apparently Nina's so-called childhood sweetheart. Nina's eyes sparkled. Oh, you know Leonard too? She said, voice dripping with false modesty. He's a famous gamer and my senior. If you'd like, I can get you his autograph. I arched an eyebrow. So you're close with him? Her cheeks flushed delicately as she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Well, not that close. But if you plan to retake the exam next year, I can ask him to help you study. Ah, the typical I know someone important flex. Aunt Susan smirked, her voice just loud enough for the whole table to hear. Leonard and Nina practically grew up together. The Foe family is very wealthy 20 years ago. One of their chandeliers alone cost over $3 million USD. Their son's handsome, brilliant, and all the rich girls adore him. But he only ever had eyes for Nina. I stayed silent, swirling my glass gently. This entire neighborhood was full of rich families. The Tan Villa was actually one of the smallest, probably bought just to appear well-connected. Annie lacked the charm to win adults over, while Nina, beautiful and manipulative, was exactly their kind of perfect child. No wonder they worshipped her. She was the golden ticket into the elite circle they craved. Aunt Susan continued, voice laced with pride. Even Leonard, cold and proud as he is, calls Nina his little sister. You can tell he cares for her deeply. I chuckled quietly. Then, casually, I picked up my phone and sent a message. Heard a bunch of rich girls are crowding around you lately, huh? A sticker reply came almost instantly, a white bunny rolling its eyes, followed by an old monk emoji meditating. Then Leonard texted, Where are you? I'll come pick you up. I shared my location. The reflection of my screen flickered, and in it, I saw Nina's face right behind me. She'd snuck up silently, peering over my shoulder. I immediately lowered the phone. Instead of apologizing for the invasion of privacy, she smiled brightly. Chloe, do you have a boyfriend already? She teased. Oh, come on, don't be shy. I just happened to catch a glimpse same profile picture for both of you, right? When will you bring him home to meet everyone? The relative's eyes gleamed with curiosity and judgment. Is he from the countryside too? Someone asked. What does he do? Does he even have a degree? The condescension in their tone was thick enough to choke on. Moments ago, they'd treated me like a potential asset. Now, in an instant, I was a poor girl dating below her class. One of the aunts even frowned disapprovingly. Girls your age should focus on studying, not chasing boys. Hard to find a good job these days, use your brain. Another added, poor girls are easily deceived by flashy boys. Be careful. Mr. Tan's face darkened. No more of this nonsense. Don't bring any thugs home. Your mother's a teacher, it would be disgraceful. Madame Tan spoke more softly, but with the same disdain. Chloe, your father just means you should focus on school. Don't worry about money, we'll handle tuition. You can always find a proper office worker with a good background later. One of the male cousins snorted. She needs to get into a university first before worrying about that. I looked up at him, smiling faintly. Didn't you just buy a beachside house recently? I asked lightly. How much is your salary per month again? His grin vanished. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I said, still smiling. Just reminding you to cool your soup before it spills. And maybe mind your own business. He slammed his hand on the table. Say that again. I tilted my head. Watch your tone, I said evenly. Didn't you just say lowlifes shouldn't be allowed in the Tan household? You might want to listen to your own words. His face turned red, fury trembling beneath his skin, but he couldn't do a thing. I, on the other hand, was enjoying myself. Nina, the expert manipulator, quickly switched tactics. Chloe, don't be so serious, she cooed. Your cousin was only trying to look out for you. We're all family here, you shouldn't get angry. Then she added sweetly, speaking of family, I'm going to make a bowl of longevity noodles for Auntie's birthday myself. Everyone clapped and praised her instantly. So filial, so talented. Nina basked in their approval and gracefully headed toward the kitchen where Annie was still cooking.